You're listening to the Daily Sales Tips podcast, and I'm your host, Scott Ingram. Today's tip comes from Meshell Baker. Meshell is a certified sales confidence igniter and an authentic selling crusader. She helps business owners and sales leaders tap into the unlimited human potential to create diverse and inclusive culture change and disrupt the sales training status quo. Here she is.
Hello, today's sales tip is around the word transaction. So I wanted to talk about and challenge your perspective on what a transaction is. So for most people, transaction is an exchange of money. Goods or purchases are given from one person, the seller, and then the buyer transacts with a credit card or money. So that's what makes it. When I looked up the word, because I'm always curious about words, when I looked at the word transaction, the root word trans is the moving of something from one place to another. And an action is an accomplishment of something, an act. So you put it together and that's what you have. I'm going to challenge you, instead of thinking about it as the moving of monies from one person to another, think about emotions. Think about transactions as you, the seller, transferring your belief in your product or service to the buyer so that they also believe. Then they say yes, because people are emotionally driven to purchase. Research shown by Harvard, upwards of 95% of the driver component of a sale is emotional. So when you begin to tap into someone's emotions, they are more likely going to say yes. They're more likely going to continue through the selling process if you have a longer sales cycle. So tapping into that is vitally important in this day and age, where especially we have so many products that are the same or quite similar, right? Nothing is ever the same. And there's so many options out there. Saying that you're the best, if you have not tried everything in your industry, is actually a lie at this point. It's disingenuous. So being authentic and honest about what you have to offer and aligning it with the challenge, the problem, as the solution to that potential prospect or buyer is everything. And one of the top ways to align with a prospect or a buyer is to tell a story. Stories are very emotional. Storytelling is how we transfer history throughout the generations before the books were written. And it really does engage people. That's what a movie is. A movie is a 2.5 hour, 90 minutes to 2.5 hour story. And when it's done well, you forget you're sitting in the theater and you're engaged in the characters. And you, as a top performing sales rep, you have that ability. Again, it goes back to that practice, and you have that ability. So start looking at some of your top buyers. Start looking at some of the testimonials, not just of yours, but of your company and your colleagues, and gather them so you are prepared, instead of telling that prospect or that buyer about the product when they say, well, tell me more, or tell me what it does. They're not actually asking you to tell you what it does. What they're wanting you to do is to convince them why. Why is a reason, and a reason is emotional. Tell them a story. In a similar situation, I had a client just like you, and they had this problem. This is what we did. This is what we decided. This is how we worked it out. And this is the solution that they came away with. Guess what? Your prospect or that buyer now sees themselves in the solution. They are leaning in, they're dialed in, they're excited about the opportunity that they get to work with you, and you get to deliver this amazing outcome along with them, not just hand off something and run away. Now, having said that, that takes time and practice. And I know you are watching this because you're a top performer, or you're desiring to be a top performer, and you are all over this. So I'm not worried. Looking forward to hearing those testimonials and those stories about how you became a masterful storyteller. So again, going back to how we began, transaction is the seller's ability to transfer their belief to the buyer or the prospect that they would say yes to the product or solution you offer. Wishing you all the best and happy selling. Thank you.
For links to connect with Meshell and her website, just click over to DailySales.Tips/990. Once you've done that, be sure to come back tomorrow for another great sales tip. Thanks for listening.